Okay, angeschaltet bin ich auch schon, sehr schön. Okay, so let me switch to English. Welcome to our session, Manage Your Landscape and the Connectivity to Managed Component with SAP Cloud ALM. My name is Andrea Schumann, and I'm the Product Manager for Landscape Management in Cloud ALM. I have with me today Tamara Wegwert. She will later on present one of our new apps, the Landscape Design and Visualization and Design app in Cloud ALM, which will come out later this year. So, first, the disclaimer as usual. What do we have on the agenda today? So at first, I will give you a very, very brief overview over landscape management. I'm pretty sure everybody of you has seen it so far. Then I will talk a little bit about what are the data sources for landscape management and what are the receivers of the data that we have in landscape management. And then I will show you in a demo how you can efficiently navigate in landscape management, because I guess you all have noticed it's getting more and more systems. So it's easy to, well, lose the overview, and it's getting harder to find what you're looking for. And then in the second section, I will talk about managed systems and services. I will explain, or at least high level, explain our data collection methodology. So basically, how do we get the data? And then I will also talk about the life cycle of a landscape object. And then we have an outlook, some future features we are planning to build, and as I said, our landscape design and visualization application. Okay, so landscape management, why is it important? Well, basically, landscape management is, well, it's a cross-application in Cloud ALM, and cross-application usually means everybody kind of needs it, and everybody, it's a little bit in the center of it all. So basically, all use cases that want to do anything with the managed services in Cloud ALM need landscape management, because we have all the information. We know the cloud services of the customer, we know the on-premise systems that the customer registers, and we share this information with all the other use cases. What we also have in landscape management are so-called business services. Business services is basically a medium in which the customers can, in the use cases, like for example integration monitoring or business service management, group together systems or services that have a logical relationship to each other, and they can even maintain or, so as you saw this in integration monitoring, for example, relationships between these systems and services. So so all this is in landscape management, and if you want to do anything as a use case in Cloud ALM, you have probably talked to us. So where do we get our data from? Our main source is the Cloud Landscape Directory at SAP. This is basically our internal directory in which all our cloud tenants are. We don't get all of them. Like in landscape management, we don't import just about everything. So we import specific tenants for specific service types, mainly because, I mean, the last count was several hundred service types. And if we would just plainly import everything into landscape management, you would not be happy and I would not be happy. So we basically turn them on based on, well, do we support them? Is there any use in it? So we will try to avoid to import service types that nobody can do anything with. The other possibility to create something in landscape management is the push registration. The push registration to create a system in landscape management is mainly used for ABAP on-premise systems. You go into transaction SDF ALM setup, you register your system, and magically it pops up in Cloud ALM. So this is how we get our ABAP systems into landscape management. Last but not least, we have the manual creation. We never recommend this for any cloud service that you could import automatically, but it is used for other on-premise systems like PI or the Cloud Connector. and also for the managed gateway for spend and network. For everybody who doesn't know what this is, it was formerly known as Ariba Cloud Integration Gateway. Yeah, so this is still created manually. What do we do with the data? Well, as I already said, right, all our use cases use our information, use the data that we have in landscape management, operations, implementations, and Cloud ALM for service. They all need our landscape data. We also synchronize this landscape data to SAP Focused Run. So if you're a customer who has SAP Focused Run on-premise and you don't want to create all your cloud services or your cloud tenants manually, you can use Cloud ALM as, well, a kind of a reverse proxy, yeah? So we can push this landscape information into SAP Focused Run. And last but not least, we also have now public APIs, yeah, for landscape objects that can be used by third-party applications to get information on the systems and services in landscape management. So now the question is, well, what do you import? I mean, okay, I talked about on-premise systems. You decide what you want. Yeah, you push an on-premise system or you create it manually if you want it in Cloud ALM. But what cloud services do we get? How do we decide? The first and most important decision is there any use case that is supported for this cloud service? Yeah? If there's no use case, then there is no point in importing it. Because in the worst case, it would just create white noise. We don't want that. So any monitoring use case? Sure, we onboard this service type. Also, and we are currently working on this, you all know the Cloud Availability Center, yeah? So there you can see downtime and maintenance notifications. Obviously, we also want to support these service types. We don't have all of them in it yet because there was around 100. We added a lot of them recently. I don't know if you noticed, all of a sudden got really crowded in the landscape management. That was my fault. But we are working on getting all service types that are supported in the Cloud Availability Center into Cloud ALM by the end of the year. You can find a list of all supported services and systems in our expert portal. Yeah, so here in our expert portal, we have just a flat listing of all our currently supported services and systems. I probably have to update this again. I basically have to do this on a regular basis. Also, we have a whole page for landscape management. I don't know if you already noticed this, where you can find our features, our services, and most important, our troubleshooting. Yeah, so this is also good to have. What do we support for each? Well, I mean, first, what services do we support? But now, what tenants do we support? We automatically support all tenants that run under the same customer number as Cloud ALM. Yeah, that's what works out of the box. Cloud ALM is provisioned. We automatically import all the tenants that belong to the same customer number. What you can also do as a customer, like let's say you are a bigger customer, you maybe have subsidiaries. So what you can do is you can also use what is called the SAP Corporate Group function. I will say a little bit more to this on the next slides, to bring in cloud services that belong to your subsidiary. Yeah? So this allows you, as a, well, big corporation with a lot of subsidiaries, to use one Cloud ALM to basically monitor all your cloud services and the cloud services of your subsidiary. So let's get a little bit more on the corporate group function, because this is something where we get a lot of questions. Very basic, the corporate group function is basically intended to link customer numbers for a customer's own customer numbers and subsidiary who are owned by the same parent company. Sounds like a mouthful, but it basically means you and your subsidiaries, you can go into a corporate group, into a corporate group. Who cannot go into a corporate group, and this is very important, SAP partners and value-added resellers must never put their customers into a corporate group. That is not allowed. If you have done this, maybe undo it. But it is not allowed, okay? So it's the best thing, just undo it. Okay, so here you see two valid customer groups, okay? You have here the Global Ultimate and then the subsidiaries. If you are a value-added reseller and you have subsidiaries, you can have a customer group, go for it. But this, oops, don't do that. Okay, so now we have an example. Yeah, so basically, a Global Ultimate customer, as I said, can use the same Cloud ALM for all their subsidiaries, and each subsidiary with an entitlement, and this is important, each subsidiary can also have their own Cloud ALM tenant. Yeah, if you're entitled, you can have a Cloud ALM tenant. So let's look at this example. We have here our corporate group, the Global Ultimate with subsidiaries A and B. This Global Ultimate also has a subsidiary D, which is not in the corporate group. And now here are our Cloud ALMs. The Global Ultimate has one. Subsidiary B also created their own Cloud ALM, yeah, so they provisioned their own one. And then also subsidiary D provisioned a Cloud ALM. So now, if you look at the Cloud ALM of the Global, okay, and here we have all the cloud services. So now, if we look at the Cloud ALM of the Global Ultimate, you see here, they maintained a corporate group S user. This S user is allowed to see all these systems and services of these subsidiaries in the corporate group. As a consequence, during the landscape import, we import the cloud services of the Global Ultimate, subsidiary A, and subsidiary B. The other two Cloud ALMs do not have a corporate group user. So what does this mean? That's easy, right? Subsidiary D gets the cloud service of subsidiary D. But what about subsidiary B? What does this Cloud ALM get? Well, it only gets the cloud services of subsidiary B. Yeah? So this way, subsidiary B can have their own Cloud ALM, monitor their own cloud services, but they can still also be in the Cloud ALM of the Global Ultimate. Okay, so that was a little bit about what we import. And you have noticed it's getting more and more and more and more. As a consequence, earlier this year, we went from our flat list view to a more structured view. Yeah, so we introduced an overview screen. And with this, well, the first thing that came with this overview screen is our scope selection. So basically, what I'm talking about now is how can you quickly find what you're looking for? Because usually, landscape management is not a use case that you go in every single day. You go in if you have to do something, or if you want to check something. And usually, if you go into check something, it's always the same, well, the same suspects, right? It's always the same cloud services that you're interested in, because these are the ones that you're responsible for. So you want to be able to find these as fast as possible. So yeah, first we have the scope selection. This allows you to find your cloud services. You can search by service type. You can search by use cases. Yeah, you can say, okay, show me everything that is supported for health monitoring. You can also say managed object type. In the future, we will have even more possibilities. Yeah, you can search by tag. I'll show you later what that is. Or by service group. This is something that will also come in the future. So this allows you to already restrict a little bit what you have in your list. By the way, always loading everything sounds like a really good idea. Trust me, eventually when you have too much, it's not. So it's always good to restrict. Then we have the favorites. So what you can do is, if you have a favorite service, always the same service that you're looking at, make it a favorite. And then you don't even have to do anything anymore. You just go to LMS and boom, there it is. Also, what we introduced, in the past, we had two lists. We had one for systems, one for services. what we did when we introduced the overview screen, we unified this list. We said, okay, we want everything on one list so that the customer can use one search to find everything. So what if I search for a service that is not in scope? That is not a problem, because with our search all or global search function, you can even find services which are not currently in scope and access them. What we also introduced recently, upon request, the where used list. So basically, customers say, hey, Andrea, I know you tell me I have to turn off all use cases for the system, but where is it used? How do I know first, okay, the use cases I can find, but I also have to remove it from all the business services. How do I know which business services it is in? There you go. We gave you a where used list. Very recently, and I'm very, very happy about that, we introduced tagging. So this means you can now go into your systems and you can attach tags to it. For example, a system owner, or a priority, or a region, or whatever you want, really. Yeah? And then you can search by these tags to find your systems faster. And in the future, all other use cases, at least our run use cases, you will be able to basically go, for example, into health monitoring and say, hey, show me all systems that are owned by system owner Hans. Yeah? This will also allow you to use this in other use cases and find it faster. And this is something that will come very soon. We actually took, well, our idea from the Cloud Availability Center, and we said, hey, it would be good if we also had these service groups, yeah, to help the customers to find it faster. Especially when we noticed that something that belongs to Ariba doesn't even have the name Ariba in the name anymore, like the Managed Gateway for Spend and Network. So now it belongs to a service group, Ariba, and then you can find it easily. It's very helpful because we like to rename stuff. You already have noticed this, I'm sure. Okay, so now let me show this to you in the system. Let me see if I have to re-awaken it. Okay, so first the scope selection. So you see here I have here some stuff. Now I want something else. I, for example, want to see everything that is supported for health monitoring. There you go. Okay. So here these 19 service types are supported for health monitoring. Now here I have two ways how I can navigate. I can either navigate directly to my list. If I navigate directly to my list, all the services, everything that is here behind any of those cards will be in your list. That can be a good idea, not necessarily has to be a good idea. Obviously depends on how many systems you have. I can also navigate via these cards. So if I say, okay, I know I want to go to Cloud Foundry, so I just click on the Cloud Foundry environment, and there I am. And now, here I can, you see the live search, you know this from our list view, we still have this. So here, yeah, so you can still do this. But what now, if I want to search for something? Oh, it's not in the list, damn it. I know this exists somewhere in my system. So now I can press Enter or search all, and here are now my all search results. So this is really helpful if you don't want to, if you have a new system, or, well, if you just want to look something up but don't want to adjust your whole scope, then you can use this. Then you can click here, and there you go. Here is my CPI now. And here, as I said, here we have our where used list that tells you which use case and what is the name of the business service. So now if you want to get rid of the CPI, you want to remove it, so, or maybe you unsubscribed it and you want it to be deleted, or you want it to be removed, then you have to obviously make sure that it's not used anymore, anywhere. Not only that all use cases are turned off, but that it actually is not used in any business services. So what we also have here is the tags. Yeah, so you can use existing tags or you can create a new one. I think I'm pretty much, yeah, so here we create a new tag. It's automatically saved. For everybody who is not a fan of the Enter key, you can also press the Save key there. That's the thing with the really, really historic icon on it. Yeah. So try to make this as comfortable as possible for everybody. And then you can also remove text, by the way, if you say, no, that's not right anymore. And then you can go out of this. If you want to use tag groups, that's very important, because I'm pretty sure a lot of you were like, hey, cool, she talked about system owners. That's a brilliant idea. We need that. Very important for tag groups, you first have to create these tag groups in our tag management, yeah? So you have to go to the tag management, go here, say create, and then you can enter one initial name, and then you can here say system owner. You need to create one initial entry. That's just how it is. Now I think I have to reload this so that we reload the library. Okay, now I go to my tags. I can type here. There's my system owner. Yeah, here's the tag. You can either use this, or you can say, well, no, actually, whoops. Now that is interesting. Oh, look, I found a feature. Cool. Seriously, Moritz, are you in the session? We have to talk. So, okay. Well, I get it could be one of our features. I have to talk to my developers as well. I cannot just place blame on people. But okay then. So there's that. Doesn't like the colon. Okay, that's not. You see, I didn't test this. So this is what happens if you don't test stuff. Oh my God. Well, let's just not. Okay, so. Well, there we go. You know, this is how it works with live demos. At least you know it's live. Okay, and when I now go here, then I can filter. So yeah, so here we are. There they are. And now, you see here, the other thing is I can see my tags here, and I can also here filter by these tags. As I said, in the very near future, we also plan to introduce or add these filters for the tags also to the scope selector. Okay, so I have to hurry up a little bit, because otherwise I won't be able to finish. And I would really like to finish. Yeah, so let me get to the managed systems and services. You all know this view. Yes? Cool. So here you basically see for each service, what are the use cases that are supported? What is the configuration status of these use cases? What is the runtime status of these use cases? Very important. Please don't blame landscape management if there is an error. We only show what we are told. So this means there is an error, in this case, in job monitoring. So what you would have to do is go actually to job monitoring and check what is going on. Also, if you click on these glasses, you always see the single KPIs, yeah, especially if there are more than one. And you might have already also seen this little icon here. This tells you that there are actually KPIs for this use case which are not yet configured. This is especially useful if we introduce new KPIs, right? Sometimes we are like, surprise, we have something new. It would always be good to know that you have something new. This will tell you that you have something new. So now the big question is, how do we get all this information into Cloud ALM? It's a really big slide. I'm not going to go into very much detail because I don't want to scare anybody. No, actually, no, I just won't have time for this. But basically, the most important distinction is SAP managed connectivity and customer managed connectivity. Those of you that were in the meeting, in the presentation this morning from Janko, already heard a little bit or heard a lot about SAP managed connectivity and customer managed connectivity. This is basically the connectivity. We set this up for you. it's always push, yeah? So the green ones are the ones that push data to Cloud ALM. All the setup here, this is done by SAP. All you have to do as a customer, go to the use case and turn it on. We try to keep it as comfortable as possible. The customer-managed connectivity, this is basically where you have to put a little bit more work in. You maybe have to create an endpoint for the pull-enabled services, or you have to actually perform a push registration. Yeah? ABAP uses the push registration to create and to register. We still have other cloud services that actually use the push, or the classic push, yeah? The tenant-to-tenant push, if you will, to send monitoring data to Cloud ALM, like SuccessFactors. You know, you go into this, if you're able to, after some time, you will find this nice UI where you can then enter all the information, and then you click register. That's that thing. And then customer-built applications. So let's say you build your own BTP application. What you have to do then is, while you develop it, yeah, also instrument it so that it can also send information to Cloud ALM. On-premise and private cloud systems, yeah. So for ABAP, we use a push approach. No cloud connector necessary. If you have non-ABAP systems, you need a cloud connector. Also, if you want to monitor Cloud Connector itself, you need a Cloud Connector, obviously. What I also have here, a little bit aside, yeah, a bit a detour, but I think it's important, our communication passes for focused run. Why is it important? Because you see that's Cloud ALM. And Cloud ALM is basically, well, yeah, we use it as a reverse proxy. So instead of forcing you to set up, well, basically to set up the connectivity, for example, in each push-enabled service, like, let's say, if we were to ask you to set up the connectivity to your focused run directly in your push-enabled SAP SaaS service, which would mean we would need a cloud connector. You would need to connect your cloud connector everywhere. This way, all you have to do is basically, you just change the URL a little bit. It's really minor. It's actually just a short extension. It's actually just this long. And then we send it to Cloud ALM. And all you have to do in Cloud ALM, you set up your cloud connector so that it can basically let information from Cloud ALM through, and it goes straight into Focused Run. Pull, well, this we still get directly from Focused Run. This doesn't go via Cloud ALM. But everything that is push goes via Cloud ALM. Also, a big advantage of having that, you don't have to create all your cloud services manually. That's nice if you have like 200, 300, 1,000. Yeah? So, it has its advantages. This is just for your reference. I will not go through this slide, but I leave it in here. Okay, so, SAP Managed Connectivity, where are we going with this? Obviously, we want to make it for you as easy as possible. We want to make the setup for you as fast as possible. And this is why, if we can, it's not possible for all of them. Yeah? So obviously, there are certain prerequisites that we have to be able to use our next generation data collection infrastructure. But for everything where we can, we ask the cloud LOBs to integrate with this approach, because this is the most comfortable for you. All you have to do is go to Cloud ALM, go to health monitoring, turn on the switch. That's it. As I said, it's not possible for everything. So, for this reason, we also are working on improving and automating the customer-managed connectivity. We already import the cloud services from SAP. We do this since the beginning, and it seems like a small thing. It is not. But, yeah, that's, I think, very helpful. What we are currently working on is actually that we prefill the endpoints. So basically, let's say you have to create an endpoint. You go into the endpoint creation, and we use a rules engine to basically figure out, okay, which root URL do we have to use? And then you maybe have the service key already in your clipboard, click a button, we fill it out automatically. This is very helpful, especially if you're not very keen on reading documentation, because we can't make videos for everything. Or also, it also helps to avoid human error, because unfortunately humans make mistakes. So yeah. We also work on centralizing the push registration, yeah, so that we maybe in the future can enable for certain services the push registration directly from LMS. And in case you missed it, we already create now, so everybody who got their Cloud ALM after June 2023, you might have noticed that now the service key is already created during the provisioning. That is us. We did that to make it easier. Okay. So I think there will not be a demo for this, but, well, I don't have enough time. But basically, what is the lifecycle of a landscape object actually? Let's have a look. I said apply. Okay. So here, the first thing that we see is it's new. Yeah. So here I have a brand new cloud integration. It's somewhat brand new because I cheated a little bit. I already created the endpoint because it's useful to have. But you see, nothing is configured. So this service is still in the status new. So what happens next? Well, usually somebody will create an endpoint, like I did, and then they will go ahead and activate the monitoring. For example, here in yeah. See, this happens if you talk too much. There it is. Here it is, no configuration. So let's turn it on. Ignore that. It's anyway only for integration monitoring. So yeah. Oops, no, here it is. So we turned it on, and look, pretty, isn't it? Now it's active. So now you might say, well, actually, I want to stop the monitoring. And when you do this, you can do this here. And very important, stopping the monitoring is not the same as removing the configuration. This is really important because very often customers are like, well, but I turned everything off, why can I not delete that? And then I'm like, well, but you didn't remove the configuration. So, very important, it's not the same, because now it's inactive. And now I will remove the configuration. Obviously, this is not so easy. You have to jump through a few hoops to do that, because we want to be sure once you have configured it, you don't lose it. Yeah, but there it is. Can you remove the configuration? Gone. And now it's not configured anymore. So now you see here this endpoint. Now you can delete it. Well, actually, now we lost it. We turn it on again. Well, somebody is being, okay, I have to press save. Forgot to show this to you. Oops. Oh, man. So you see this endpoint, you can't delete it now because we don't want you to delete something that you use. Okay, then let me remove it again. Is this the right one? That's it. We remove the configuration. And now you can also delete the endpoint. Before I do this, you see here I still can't delete it. But now I delete the endpoint. And now I can also... Cool, I found another feature. It wasn't there an hour ago. But yeah, so now I can delete it. Yeah, so here, I went from inactive. I can obviously go forth and back, right? I can activate and deactivate until I'm tired of it, and then I can remove the monitoring. And now, very important, everything that's manually created and registered can now be deleted if it's in status new. But you still can't delete the services that we import from SLIS, because you still own them. So, as long as you have them, they will be in LMS. You're welcome. But if you unsubscribe from them, then they can go. Yeah? If you unsubscribe, they will go in the status deleted. And once you have removed all the configuration, then they will be deleted automatically. You don't even have to do anything. They will just vanish. Yeah? Okay. So you're going to be really quick now. You're going to get exactly, well, 1 minute or maybe 2. This is something a lot of people have been waiting for. So we are working on authorizations, which allow you to basically decide who can see which systems. And these authorizations will also be inherited to all the use cases, yeah, to our run use cases. We are working on this. It's a big thing, and we are planning right now to get this out, well, probably Q1, in the next 6 months. You will have authorizations for LMS, because a lot of people were asking for that. Yeah, you need that, I know. We are working on it. Give us time. What we're also working on is on setup automation for S/4HANA Cloud. Yeah, you see there will be a new button, and when you click this, you can just say, I want to set up this, 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 and this for my S/4HANA Cloud. And then, like magic, it will appear. That's the plan. And then also we plan to introduce service hierarchies. Yeah, basically so that you know, okay, this service, in which sub-account is this? This sub-account, in which global account is this? Yeah, so that you have a little bit an overview of what lives together in one sub-account, what belongs together from a logical point of view. And with this, I'm really sorry that I went over, but I hand over to Tamara. The green one is the one for the next slide.
Good afternoon, my name is Tamara Wegwert, and I would like to talk to you about some idea we have for landscape design and visualization. So the idea is each customer is of course different and has an own way to do his business. Some customers might have like 5 subsidiaries. Another customer might do business per business area, like ship cruises or maybe car rental. One has separated it. And maybe another customer does it together so that you can rent a car to go to the harbor and then go via the ship. So this one might have integrations. And the idea is, however you do your business services which you have in Calm would reflect it. So that means if you have such integrations, you might have business services in Calm for it. And if you don't have such integrations, you probably wouldn't have such groups in Calm. And that's why we think showing you those groups might help you for the planning. Here you see now a simple idea that we show you systems, cloud systems, which are the cloud services from LMS and on-premise systems. And you would have the groups which are basically from LMS, the business services. You could also filter them, for example, via the product or the system role. Now let's assume you pressed the card for the systems. You might see then here a list of systems. This screen mock-up just shows one system and you might select it. And very nice idea is you have here some button or icon in case your system is included in some groups, meaning in some business services in LMS, so you would in that list easily see if it's contained. Similar here, We would have relations, so if your LMS business service would also contain relations between systems, then you would see here that information. And you could, of course, also go to details by clicking on such a line and then would see some details for your system. And now comes the real new thing, and that's the graphic. So the assumption here is that you selected one group, and then you can see the group members, each one is a box. And you also see a little details like a description and information, maybe a name you give to that service, the role which the service or system has. And what you hardly see here is we would have connecting lines. And those lines, that would be, so to say, the relations on the LMS business service, so you could easily see for one system with which other systems it is related. And yeah, the hope is that that could help to do a better planning when you, for example, plan which entities to include in an implementation project. And yeah, would be great maybe to get some feedback. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we have 4 more minutes. And also, I mean, obviously, if you have any questions, I will be here. But I think, yeah, obviously, if you need anything, continued influence, I didn't find a group for LMS. But I'm pretty sure they could create one if enough people ask. So there is probably also one. I just didn't. I just looked under run. So, but yeah, you can always hear operations. No cross. Too bad. No, but seriously, just let us know. We will make sure that there is a group for LMS, for landscape management, so that you can let us know what you need and what you're looking for. Because obviously, the most important thing for us is making our customers happy.